Hey, welcome to episode. When I see me during the intro, right? Looking through my phone. Somebody tell me I need to do some kind of graphic to start the thing. Only right, I'll get a graphic eventually, right? When you see me looking through my phone, it's because trying to find out what number episode we on. Welcome to episode 93 of the Corey Shepherd podcast. Welcome back to everybody who's been listening, the long-time listeners, fans and friends of the show. And welcome to everybody who's new. Now, we have some new listeners, folks. We had to know how to behave, and we had new people on the scene because, so with my guy Cassius last week. That's why I don't do clips enough. My boy Cassius make a clip last week. He had to explain to me how to do a reel on Instagram. I don't know. I don't know how to do this. I do the reel, it come out blurry like hell. But clearly, people enjoy the video. I'm glad people enjoy the video, and whoever went on taking the episode, I appreciate you all coming on board. We're here every Tuesday, despite popular belief. Talking about whatever is the current issues in Trinidad and Tobago and in the world, whatever it is happening in popular culture, we're here to discuss it. At home, regional, local, and abroad. How I sound like a news channel? But I just want to say that based on the activities of last week, I am kind of a big deal. So only had to talk to me respectfully. Yes? Give me name my ease.
Commander begging the public, please.
Oh Lord.
Give me name my ease, Mr. Action, begging the public, please. To be a public entertainer is bad.
For me to break a warrant, it must be hard. Why?
Anyway I go, it is just the same. All way I pass, you could hear them calling me name.
Hello, Commander. Where you say? How you going? You okay? Nice. Right away. And all they calling up my name for the whole damn day.
I just want to date every day. It's the same old tune in my head. And it's a thing I don't like at all. Anyway, I pass
For my name to call.
You could believe it or not, but this is certainty. It ain't have a thing I hate like publicity.
Yes.
Everything what eats me and get me angry. They only calling me
Unnecessary. Hello, Commander. Where you say? How you going? You okay? Nice. Right away.
A man can walk in peace
On the damn highway. Hey, voice of the one commander, Mr. Action, you know him? So a whole lot of publicity. So my guy Cassius, you know what I mean? But every time these things going wrong, I start to get nervous. You know, I ain't designed for this. This is why I don't do clips. But I'm glad people enjoy it. As I see somebody asking me, who sang that song? That song new? I was like, what? What is happening? So we might have to get into some penguin, boy. I would assume, to be honest, that Soft Man is a known song. And, you know, when you play some of them songs, remember that Woman Don't Like Soft Man. That, of course, is a Calypso Monarch winning song, right? We're not going to pretend like we don't know the Monarchs, right? That's one of the main reasons we're here to talk about some of the giants in Calypso over the years. And I wonder if I could find the year that he do it, boy. I want to say 1984. How good you feel my guesses? Let me see if I could pull up Calypso Monarch winners over the years. I hope I ain't wrong about this now. Yeah, Penguin. 1984. Woman Don't Like Soft Man. So I assuming that this is a song. I guess most people who listening to this know. You had to know Woman Don't Like Soft Man. I'm not sure if I ever played it in the podcast before, but we definitely gonna get into a few Penguin songs. The song he went with was Woman Don't Like Soft Man and Living in Jail, I think was the next song. I mean, we might play a few, but Penguin have some songs that it's just classics over the years. You know, Penguin is a man was hitting. So salute to the great Sedley Joseph, the Penguin. And all credit due to him. You know, I go play the fool here every Tuesday. But the credit goes to the men who make this song. Now, a man tell me you want two more verses in this song, right? But before we get out of here, I'm going to play that song again in the end. Now, to be honest with you, I'm fed up. I hear too much over the last week because everybody who tell me it getting chill, they send it back to me. And I can't listen to that song no more for a while. I had to come back to it. But in the end of the episode, I'll play the next two verses of that song. That song don't need no lyrics added to it to be about that Will and Jada situation. And as much as the situation unfold, that song relevant. And I'm telling you, 1984 is the time we're talking about, you know. So salute to the great Penguin for some great music. And we go taking a few Penguin greatest hits. And maybe I'm playing this too, maybe just so I could stop hearing Soft Man in my head. It's starting to affect me. It's starting to become one, you know what I mean? So I might have to back out of it a little bit. So before we dive into the thing, and all jokes aside and thing, I appreciate my guy Cassius for sharing it, and I'm glad people appreciated it and all that. But in this podcast, we have to deal with serious matters when serious matters arise, you know?
On your belly.
Yes?
Ready now. Yeah. Hear me now. I never bad mind nobody yet. I never fight down nobody now. I never try stop nobody breath. That is not in my nature.
No.
I never see people with them things and vex them of it. Especially when they work hard for it. But it have some people, soon as they walk through your door, they put a stumbling block in your road. They practice evil, they think we don't know. And some of them close to you. I'm telling you, enemies from the borderline. We not blind, we don't fuck them long time. Yes, enemies on the borderline.
Listen, always a positive message, you know. So, I reading from Michael Mondesi from the Express. Michael Mondesi always on top of everything culture, you know what I mean? And some quotes coming from his manager about this song in particular. She said, those lyrics from Blaxx 2019 song, Remove Yourself, epitomize everything he stood for. This from Giselle Gelino Penrose, manager. Say, Michael, that man lived those lyrics. Every time he's out there and sees the younger generation, the voice, the Irfan Alves, the Second Star, his face would light up at how well they listen and learn from his teachings. Gelino Penrose said through an audible smile during a phone call with the Express yesterday. Blaxx 60 sadly lost his battle with COVID-19 at the Arima General Hospital on Monday. The All-Stars lead singer, who was hospitalized in 2020 with several health complications, was warded at the ICU unit, intensive care unit at the health facility for the past week. 7-night memorial entitled Who God Bless, aptly titled after Blaxx's 2021 Soca release, one of the best songs he ever do, if you ask me, is planned for 5 p.m. daily at the Despas Panyard on Tragedy Road, Port of Spain. The nightly wake started on Thursday and ends next week, Wednesday. So that'll be, by the time you listen to this, is Tuesday. By Wednesday, we are the last night of the week. And almost as soon as I finished recording, the last thing we say in last week's episode was keep Blaxx in your prayers. And I mean, it's clear that we did keep him in our thoughts and our prayers because the man gone to a better place. And one of the things we'll always appreciate Blaxx for, we hear about celebrating life, right? It's sad. And I mean, I was worried from the time I hear Blaxx get COVID. I say, boy, this man now went through a whole lot of battles with his health and things just the other day. And we know what COVID doing to people. We know what COVID do to our friends, our family. It run through the society and the world as a whole. When you hear somebody like Blaxx, we keep him in our thoughts and prayers. And boy, that man going to a better place. And when you listen to Blaxx, especially, you know, no matter what you do, they say sometimes that we do give people their flowers while they're alive. I want to change that, you know. I think that a part of it is that when people pass, we give them even more flowers than we've been giving them. It's not so much that we don't recognize them. I mean, there are cases where we don't, but I think Blaxx was certainly recognized as an icon. And, you know, they tell you, you know your friends and you know your worth, how people value you when you're sick, when you're in, well, let's say you're in the hospital and when you're in jail or when you're heading out, you know what I mean? And I think he saw it last year, and I heard him talk in interviews about how many people show up for him. He spoke about Fian and Bungie in particular. How Bungie lent him his wife. She stayed by his side. She was there at Medical Associates, I believe it was, to make sure that he was okay and getting the best of medical care. I believe he was saying that she made a call to his son, I want to say. And when she found out how sick he was, she tell him, listen, I'm meeting you in Medical Associates. I'll carry him there right now. Make sure that he's there. And she makes sure that there was a doctor on site to be able to see him as well when he reached there. So salute to them. And he saw that love. I remember at one point in time, you know, artists and the industry. I can't remember what was the issue he had at the time. It was something to do with Marshall. And I never really liked that. You know, I like unity and love. I like how these youths doing it now with that kind of uniting amongst themselves. So it was good to hear him even say that, listen, Marshall is a man, foot some of the bills and, you know what I mean, make sure that he was okay and check on him. And I saw Marshall post him in the midst of the Save the Soil and so on. Marshall posted him and had some words for him and condolences to his family and all that. And boy, it's just one of them things. As soon as I finished that episode last time, I get this piece of bad news, and you know, it's against the backdrop of more fets being released right now. So I see Josie's Jamishness that sell out. Salute to them. I see Bacchanal Road that looking like it's sell out too. Salute to them. So the fets that somebody could Lego school so we could have soca, a summer soca. You know what I mean? But the fets and them come back on stream, and this is the man's self who you want to see in these kind of fets, especially with his 2022 song. You want to see what Blaxx gonna do with this. Well, I think we know what Blaxx gonna do with this song, and it's just sad that he's not gonna be here. But I mean, people like Blaxx don't leave, because the amount of positive messages that man leave us with is impossible for his voice to fade away or to die out. And the nice thing about Blaxx too is that, no knock on anybody else, of course, but you notice the common thread in Blaxx songs is a level of positivity. Every year, like he seek out. I remember him saying on the radio one time he had hundreds of songwriters sending hundreds of songs to him to pick from for Carnival, and he know how to pick a hit. But you can't tell me that all the writers would write songs like these. You know what I mean? But he was clearly conscious about the songs that he sang and what he picked and the message. You know, sometimes you just wonder if people didn't know that they're not going to be here for a long time. You know, like we act like we're going to live forever. But when you listen to the way he put songs together and the message he was leaving with us throughout his career, you had to wonder if he know at 60 he'd be gone. So he put all the positivity out. And the positivity was not just in his music for people who didn't know him like myself to get a message, but also, it seems, when he meets up with any of the artists, he have that positivity to extend to them as well. And some clips that will last forever is earlier this year, him surprising Voice in his show. And just being on stage there, and you could see Voice reaction. And it's almost like, boy, we know you went through plenty, and we're just glad to see you. You know what I mean? We're just glad that you're out here and you're present and you're there with us in a show like that. And I remember, could it have been second? No, I think it was Pretty. I hope I'm not getting that wrong. If it's not Pretty, it's second star. One of them youths. You know me and the youths, I just type everybody. But I remember one of them on stage with them saying, listen, let me don't wait until we icons go, you know, let me get them the flowers now. And he come and do an extra verse in his song. And it's just so nice to hear this voice remain with us for so long and just become a part of everything that we do. And when you have Spread Your Hand and Lego, you have Tanti Woy, so much songs, but it's this song this year, I don't know, boy, something about it. He'll take it in, right?
Hoping to find someone with a familiar face so we could fit and celebrate. This is not the time to be alone. This is the time to wind on a bumper. So let's be amazing, the fire blazing. With no care in the world, let me get on bad in here. I want you to charm on somebody now, hold on somebody now, keep them company. I want you to charm on somebody now, hold on somebody now, make them your family.
Yeah, what you say as a fete song, the mash up the place is a bad party, but as a fete song, the man say, hold on somebody now, jam on somebody now, you're in a fete, make them your family. And when you listen to the way the songs put together and the way only Blaxx could deliver it, that is what he was about. I remember last Carnival, which seemed like 10 years ago, Yuma had guest stick. Yuma lunch spot was on St. Mary's grounds. I don't know, it's probably every day. This was first and only time I ever play with Yuma, right? And it will be the last band I ever play without Yuma going forward. But when we came out of St. Mary's ground, you know, Roxy could be funny. So we're trying to reach down by Roxy there, and the band stick, several bands passing and thing, and we end up there for a couple hours. It was long, and for as a masquerader, that could be frustrating, especially when you now come off for lunch. It's done hard to build back our vibes and thing already. You're tired. You're suffering from the little itis. And I remember Blaxx on that truck with the All-Stars. And them men strike up, boy, and Blaxx started doing tunes. And you know, he have a way of engaging people, and Blaxx sit down the whole time. You know, he had a way. It wasn't a whole sort of effort he was putting out to destroy Fett. So, boy, it's a sad thing to say that we're not going to see him in Jamishness. We're not going to see him in Bacchanal Road. He's the ideal man to come for these kind of Juve type events. Every song he have is a road song, a Juve song. But more importantly, a togetherness and a positivity. So, boy, listen. The amount of songs he leave us with, we had to celebrate things like this. Going back to Michael Mondes, he said one of the quotes coming here was, now all these stations playing black music and I getting a lot of messages with people saying that all that songs the black man have. And it's like, it's a lot of songs. And it's a salute to the radio stations for playing him now still. I mean, we celebrating more of it. We celebrating his life. And boy, it's just an icon. And you know, it's one of the younger icons. I think we... in our era now, at our age, the 40-year-olds who listening, if you're listening to this podcast, he is 40. I don't know if that means you're young at heart, or if that means you're old before you're young, or if you're really 40, but you're in your 40s if you're listening to this, right? And the thing about it is that we sort of getting used to the fact that some of our icons passing, because we just at that age, you know what I mean? But I don't think anybody would expect Blaxx at 60 years young to be heading out, you know what I mean? So, it is what it is. We had to keep the memory alive. We had to go with it. I know that the artists themselves will do a lot of it, but we just here to do our part and to celebrate life of the great one, Blaxx. So taking a little piece before we get into the action.
Who will madness? Some of them doing it for fame. They love the badness. Man, I don't know. Them girl love me and I really love it so. And it's so rude. Man, I don't know. Them kind of girl have me coming for more. And it's so rude. Yes, I love bad girl. All my bad girl them. Hands up on me bad girl them. Hands up on me. I love rude girl. All my rude girl them. Hands up on me rude girl them. If you do stush, I don't like you. If you're not rude, I don't like you. If you do, I don't like you. If you got push, I don't like you. If you do push, I don't like you. If you do, I don't like you.
Now, with our song, I just want to play real quick. Based on what happened this week, it's an important song to play. I ain't getting into too much details now. I just want to say one thing about this situation. I know the places get heavy when these things happen, but I always hear every week, and I keep saying it over and over again, until we address the issues that our society have, and the issues with men, the issues with families and households, the issues with domestic violence, nothing ain't gonna change. We will always be here talking about these situations. We will always be in an uproar. Every year it have a fresh batch of youths who now starting to read the news, and it's looking like the first time to them, so everybody gonna be appalled and in an uproar when they have this murder-suicide thing. I remember there was a podcast that I had done a long time ago with a therapist. I always get these people name job title wrong, the therapist or clinical psychologist or whatever, somebody like that, right? Micah Del Richard. Sorry, Micah. But she's in that field, and she was talking about her studies and the issues where domestic violence concerned. And she was talking particularly about the East Indian community. She said that she's a black Canadian, right? Trinidadian roots and everything, and she brought her child here. She said a big part of her moving to Trinidad was to get West Indian education for her daughter or her child, right? Let me not make no more mistakes. But what was interesting that she was talking about is that the study showed a clear trend in the East Indian community about behaviors like these. She said, but anytime you raise it, it could get sticky. People want to tell you that racism is driven by race and all that. And I mean, that you could do that if you want. I mean, it's the easy thing to say if somebody says something like that. Or we could look at the numbers, look at it and say, okay, what can we do to help the communities to change some behaviors that might be detrimental to themselves and society? I find it's a useful thing to do. I think when you look, we are very sensitive about race for some strange reason. No, this is not the most fun topic to talk about. When our video go viral last week and people expecting me to come here and sing more Penguin, right? But the reality of the society is we had to face. Because it's the same thing with people here. When you say something about the black community, everybody say, the racists, blah, blah, blah. If it was like this, you wouldn't say that. When you say the 1% and the Syrian, they can't say not more nobody here. It's almost like we prefer to turn a blind eye to what the data is clearly showing as an issue in all different areas of society. And just not address it and close our eyes real tight and just hope it don't ever happen again. You know, you close your eyes tight and you say, yeah, all right, this was the last, you know what I mean? This is the last couple that are going to go through this, or this is the last woman that are going to go through this, or this. I don't know. I don't know what's the purpose of it. And the thing that stood out in this particular, if you don't know what I'm talking about, or your brother, you're living under a rock, or you ain't reading the papers here, there's another murder suicide, I want to say in Barrackport, I think the area was. I ain't even reading it to know because them things get me depressed and then I can't do the rest of the episode, honestly. The last time I tried to talk about this, I lock off after the end of that, I ain't talk about nothing else. So we're not going to go through that. I'm not going to dampen the mood, but I just want to put it out there again that as men. Let me talk to the men here again for a second. You see, we need to seek help when we need help because there's a lot that men take on, the role of men in society. It is changing. And some of us not changing as fast as the demands for our role is changing, which could be taxing mentally, right? You see how I'm using nice words? You see how I'm getting better at choosing good words? And I'm giving myself a damn round of applause, you know? So I think we as men, among our friends too, we had to check ourselves. We had to make sure that we put ourselves in spaces with people like Michael, with people like Neola. I met another therapist I hope to have on the show as well, who could tell us about issues or who we could talk about where could help coach us through it, you know, because we laugh and we joke and think about that Will Smith issue last week, and you're seeing now how much of a backlash, I could use that word, a backslap. You see how much of a backlash coming his way because of this thing. Salute to my guy Chris Rock, because apparently now we know that Chris Rock refused to press charges. The police come to talk to him. Will Packer was in an interview last week saying, hey, the police was talking to Chris about his options. Chris was dismissing them completely. He didn't even want to talk about it. And and I was saying last week, it's a black American thing. They don't want to get each other locked up. And I could tell you that I was going to press all charges. I was going to sue him. I wasn't going through that. If I had the restraint not to be able to fight back, I was fighting back. Otherwise, I wasn't going to take that. But I mean, that would not have been a nice thing to see. Chris Rock and Will Smith, two icons in court now, and there's a whole dragged out thing and stuff. But I seen Netflix say no more Bad Boys 4. At least it's on the back burner. And there was some of the movie he was working on as well that are going to be on the back burner. And I think he has some image work to do, you know what I mean? He has some things to work on. The way clearly people were saying you could say whichever side he was on, but he put out a formal apology. And this time Chris Rock was included in the apology. This was nice of you know what I mean? But I don't know. I think we could all agree that the issue beaten to death. That's a bad that was a complete mistake, right? But we could all agree that, I mean, we fed up of it and we all want to move on. But I kind of a little bit addicted to the story because I want to hear when Chris Rock finally addressed this, how funny it will be. Of course, all his tours sold out. I was talking to a marketing class this week and asking the class if we feel all publicity is good publicity, you know, publicity or PR is part of marketing. So I was kind of discussing that with the group and wondering, okay, does this move benefit both Chris Rock and Will Smith in the long run? Definitely there's short run benefit because Chris Rock tickets sell out fast when he went to Boston the other day. I think he would usually sell out shows, but now it's going to be that much harder to get a Chris Rock ticket. And he might be using bigger venues than what he was planning to use before, because I knew about the tour with Kevin Hart, but I didn't realize he had another tour planned as well. So assuming that he will by that time address it. I think the name of the tour is Ego Death. And such an interesting thing to name a tour. It was named before this incident too. So Ego Death that's what we see on the stage there, because it's not that your ego die when you get a slap, but I think to get a slap, figure out a way to not retaliate, make a little joke about it, and move on with the program, realizing that you are not it's not about you. I think that's if you had to kill off your ego first before you could go through a moment like that, or hopefully you already dealt with your ego before you go through a moment like that, so you could see he might be doing some of the right things and getting the therapy that he need and taking the steps that he need as a man in this new role of men in this world. But that aside, we need to continue to do work on ourselves, getting back to the local situation here because of this story in Barrackpore, this murder-suicide, again, in front of little children involved, and we have video now, because they were apparently going through the divorce already. I ain't playing none of them clips, but we have video and audio of them. What seemed to be the man and his mother-in-law putting the woman out of the house and trying to tell her she had to leave and all that. Boy, listen, them situations done rough already. And if we go into those situations without the help, and when I say help, I mean professional help that we need, it could get taxing and it could get hard. I've told on this podcast many stories about my own stresses and my own dealing with my own mental health. And going to a therapist and sitting and talking about it, and I'm not sure why therapists work, but I could tell you all that it works. I don't know, it's help you take some things off your mind, and we have a lot on our mind as our role as protectors and providers. Some of us adopt that role fully, and it could be a burdensome. And then to put on top of that now, issues like in this story where they have a next woman and a child involved and a divorce and who trying to stay together and two families now fighting, and that is a lot for people to take on. And before we snap, because just last week I was talking about the fact that we defending Will Smith and saying that this is a man who's willing to defend his wife and thing. And I was saying, guys, be careful about the kind of men you look for. Because if a man, I'm not saying you shouldn't defend your wife, but that was not defending your wife. I don't think Will Smith, he snapped. And you could say the same about this dude with this woman down here. No, you could snap. And if you don't take care of all them tensions and all them stresses and all them burdens, eventually you'll snap. And I'm not sure that when we snap, they used to call it a amygdala attack. I learned that in an emotional intelligence course. Again, you need to go to emotional intelligence things and so on to find out how to deal with our problems as men. Because unfortunately, one of the things that men sometimes default to, all of us, when you have that amygdala hijack or amygdala attack, or when what we call a blackout, or you see blood red, we like to use these terms. One of the things that our responses to it is the violence. You tend to want to lash out physically, whereas a woman might lash out with words, which could be very hurtful when these women tell you certain things, you know what I mean? Women keep certain things in the kitty. It's a Lego when hell break loose, so that they know the hurtful things, but for men it's violent. So the reality is that just like the slap with Will Smith, that is my issue. The violence, a slap is not, to tell you the truth, right? A bellas is an important part of what society, sometimes you need to know that when you say the wrong thing, a bellas could be coming your way. Maybe that is not something we should eliminate from society completely. I can tell you, when I was in Fatima, Tranquil worse. Well, Tranquil is when I realized, let me don't play these games, because Tranquil, it wasn't hitting nobody no bellas and walking away like Will Smith or what we used to do in Fatima and thing. It could have get very, very serious, right? Let me put it that way. So you realize that Tranquil, don't put no hands on nobody. But the threats in Fatima where you could have get smacked for saying the wrong thing, used to stop people from being disrespectful to people, your mother this and your mother that and thing. But what I'm saying is, when you snap, you had a little bit of restraints and control if you was able to just hit somebody a smack or a slap where nobody dead or anything. But when you trip off and you lose all restraints, you lose all control, and you're a cutlass rider or a gun rider, we could end up in a whole different scenario where now you have children who don't know neither of their parents, and one child who will never know his father because he's a little baby. Due to situations like these, and it's sad. And when I read articles like these, one of the things that I don't know, maybe women can help more with this, right? There's something that always stands out when these gruesome or these heinous situations come up, that they go to the education of the person. It's such a strange thing. Also, everything that I read in this story, I was like, okay, so why we talking about this man? Because the guy was a school teacher and she was a banker. And it's almost as if we feel when people reach a certain level in society, they can't trip off. Our partner the other day, he's telling me all the time, he's always reminding me, he said, listen, we are animals and we are in the jungle. We're still animals, so we still have those instincts to damage and to hurt and to protect. And you know what I mean? There's an Instagram page I follow called Nature is Metal. And what they do is they show you brutal situations out in nature where, a lion catch one of them gazelle, and, you know what I mean? It is very, very brutal and crude. And, people in the comments talking about why you posting this is so thing, and why did the lion thing? And it's like, what do you think the lion care about this new age millennial and generation Y society? The lion doing what lions do. And because we've, over the years, developed a certain level of civility and civilization and, ways to act and behave and so on that are considered the norm, we feel like we are not animals no more for some strange reason, not realizing that, listen, all hell could break. All you see the prices of food? if man can eat and think a while here, it goes back to primal behavior very, very quickly. So unless we could manage and control that, we're going to have a real issue. But this notion that you're educated and you're civilized and you have all these degrees and you're a teacher and you teach thousands of people and they said he goes the extra mile to help the children and stuff. I salute all that. All that is great. But listen, them things not going to prevent you if you don't do the work on yourself to get through very, very stressful situations like what he was going through. You're putting yourself in a position to snap. Or you're not giving yourself the best chance to win in this situation or to remain civilized. Sometimes we need help. And as men, I start with myself, Sometimes as men, it's hard to come out and say, hey, brother, I need help, boy. I ain't dealing with this situation too well. And then, for men, the shame, the embarrassment, all this kind of thing, we doesn't like that too much neither, And it's the reason I played that Commander song in the beginning of the episode. It's not just joking about the going viral thing. There's a Calypsonian, right? Commander saying, everywhere I go, people call my name. It's too much publicity. He can't break a warrant. Everybody know who he is and they call his name. A part of the issue that we usually face is the shame and the embarrassment because, you're educated in society. You're a school teacher. Which comes with a certain degree of respect. Respect from all the children who you teach. Remember that. Think of us as 40s, right? Who know your school teachers now. One of the names that stands out to me is a man named Harry Ramdas, my guy Harry from Fatima. He was the cricket coach, the football coach. He used to teach Spanish. What the hell Harry used to teach? I feel Harry never used to teach that. No, I can't remember what Harry used to teach. Like it's only football and cricket. But even now when I see Mr. Ramdas or Harry, is a certain amount of respect I have for him, for having helped me through so many different scenarios in school and helped me navigate that school thing, and even for just believing in you and saying some things to you that you might hold on to for the rest of your life. School teachers play such an important role in society. You're also respected by the parents of those children who go into the school, who almost by default look at you a certain way with a certain amount of respect and reverence because you're a school teacher. And sometimes that level of publicity, because I could tell you for me, right? Like I say, I'm kind of a big deal after last week. So I know a lot of people. I was just walking around this week hailing out people like, hi. Yeah, it's me. Don't worry about it. Yeah, that's me. No, but seriously, like from lecturing for so many years, right? I end up knowing a lot of people. Or more so, a lot of people end up knowing me. Sometimes I can't remember them. So when people hail me out now, I just hail back people like I know you from somewhere. To the point where the other day I passing in the gas station and somebody blow their horn, pop. I say, hey, what man, everything good? Nice, man. That's my go-to, that's my default. I hail out there, hey, right, okay, all right. I just like Commander. It's like, hey, you're going here, all right, you okay? And then the man say, come and get my bunks now, man, how you moving? So I say, yeah, man, everything good. He say, I have a movie. You saw my movie? I have a movie. I'm selling for 100. But the thing cost me a blasted 100. It's the best sales pitch I ever see. I hate when people play like they know you. To get you to come and talk to them to sell them something, or some of them is do it to ask you for a little piece of money too. A little, you know what I mean? And I need a little 20 there. And then when I used to work TSTT, I used to work in the public office. So when you're in the public office, anybody in the public coming up to you seeing 15, 20 customers a day for years, I do that. So you end up knowing a lot of people, or you have a famous face like myself, you know what I mean? You're out there. And part of that brings a certain burden with it as well, right? So for instance, how do I feel as a man when I am a public figure or a school teacher, and you're not a school teacher in Rosary Boys or Newtown Boys or Sacred Heart and these places, up in town where it's big city, right? Life. But you're an advocate and you live in Barraport. So you're a teacher in a small area, I want to say a village type thing. So you're all eyes on you. And how does it feel when you're going through that and then you have an affair and you have a child? What is that like? You spare a thought for that? Like, what is it like dealing with that? Like, keeping your head high and still dealing with children and still trying to tell them do the right things when you having some issues yourself. And then when every time you go home, your head high, and you're doing your lessons and your children doing well and the parents and everybody and you're making yourself available, you're going the extra mile. But when you go home, it's heavy cuss out what to leave here and don't come back here and your mother cussing and you cussing and you're in court. And that is a heavy burden. That is a heavy load. And especially with domestic issues, when it comes to your wife and your children and your outside woman and all these kind of things, it's a heavy load. It's a heavy load. So you find yourself in that situation now and look at what the outcome is. But I mean, it is what it is. I'm sorry for everybody involved. Those situations so rough, boy, because again, I'm going back to what my boy Pablo told me the other day. We go talk about this. It will become front page news. All the podcasts will cover it. I'm sure everybody who's talking on the local scene will talk about it. But then it will die down. It's probably not going to be a topic for me next week again, and I will move on with my life like normal. And then the family now having to deal with the after effects of all this. So, boy, as far as men, I mean, get your therapy, get your help, but I want to leave all you with a Blaxx too that could pretty much sum up these situations that we find ourselves in seemingly a lot as Trinidad and Tobago, and is a part of our culture, just like pan, steel pan, calypso, limbo, tassa. Where else is part of our culture? You see, this domestic violence thing, and this is a part of our culture, just like everything else. So I just want to leave all you with the wise words of the great Blaxx.
Yo, expert. Burn your belly. Some boy go lose their girl tonight. Somebody go touch it for you. Somebody go touch it. Some boy go lose their girl tonight. Somebody go touch it for you. Touch it for you. You can hold she goes if you want to. She go give it to who she want to. You could buy her drinks if you want to. She go give it to who she want to. My youth, you don't own it. Stop going like you have a tagana. You're not the only man in the market with banana. Stop going like a superhero, like the Black Panther in Wakanda. Go there if the next man shamana. Take example from your father now. He never kill your stepfather now. Cause you know that. No girl, no one, no, nah, no, nah, no, nah. No girl, no one, no, nah, no, nah, no, nah. Some boy go lose their girl tonight. Somebody go touch it for you. Somebody go touch it. Some boy go lose their girl tonight. Somebody go touch it for you. Touch it for you. You can hold she goes if you want to. She go give it to who she want to. You could buy her drinks if you want to. She go give it to who she want to. My youth, you don't own it. She give you a touch of the thing. You feel is the king. Now you walk by sharing. And just as you by sharing, you feel like you control the thing. So when the next man intervenes, you want the vex like you're getting mad. Now another man creeping up in the yard. You are running down like a dog. No girl, no one, no, nah, no, nah, no, nah. No girl, no one, no, nah, no, nah, no, nah.
No girl don't want to own her. I'm not talking about this situation in particular. I'm talking about us as a culture in general. You see this kind of thing we have. Like you have something that belongs to you. You see this life. Nothing don't belong to you. You don't own your wife. You don't own your children. You don't own your house. You don't own your clothes because all of it shall be left behind. So let me don't forget the words of the great Blaxx. Even in a song like that, the man opening line is, some boy could lose their girl for night, somebody will touch it for you. There's a rough opening line, but I think just like Blaxx always, there is a positive message in the end that addressing the issues that our society face. So rest in peace to Blaxx, great Blaxx, and we go celebrate that. I'll go in some fete to hear some Blaxx when fete restart. Talking about the restarting of fete, I want to salute the reopening, which is this week. Everything open. It had no more lockdowns. Everything is free for everybody. We could go anywhere and we could enjoy ourselves and we could eat anything and we could leave anytime we want and we could have how much ever people we want in a fete. So I hope people enjoying their freedom. I see. Because now I went out last week thinking once they make the announcement, I'm really not sure why we had continued to do this thing for the whole of COVID where you make the announcement on one day and tell you Well, on the 4th of April is when we started back thing. Oh God, I'm not sitting one time. Now, I suppose you had to give people time, but I went in Starbucks and places last week, and I thinking, well, okay, so I'm back to normal now. I could actually do some work in a Starbucks or, sit down in places and do work again, but no such luck. You still had to eat in your car. You know how much eating I eat in my car during this pandemic? I mean, my belly is there to show the evidence of me eating in my car right through. But because you can't eat a salad in your car, right? I mean, come on. But we fully open back. I think they have a date. Did they say a date too for when the mask mandate going? Because I'm ready for that to go too. I fed up of the mask thing. I had a nice little lime down the islands this weekend. So my guy Damien Rowe, Nicholas and Joel and a whole squad. Everybody went down a nice little family lime, right? With the wives and the kids and so on. A lot of rum, copious amounts of rum consumed. But the down the islands lime, that even picked back up because when we went back, well, I don't know if it was dead at one point. I know they couldn't go down the islands, but that's been open back for a while. But I'm going on to this thing, and it is such a reminder that we're still in this time. Now, when I went on to the boat salute, Sean, I wish I knew the name of the boat. I think it's Bite Me, I think. Or is it the Pelican? Ocean Pelican. No, not guilty. I think it's Bite Me. And before you come on the boat, listen, when the ridiculousness of this concept shows itself, especially now that COVID died down, right? Where all of us going on a boat, all of us came together. So me, my son, and my wife in the car, everybody else and their families in their car. We took some time to go on the boat because one couple who shall remain was about an hour late, who shall remain unnamed. But all the time, we playing with children, we talking to adults playing with adults. Nobody wearing no mask. We is high five thing, bonks, whatever it is, and think, well, Nicholas, long time I see you, think, what going on? Hey, you should do SCA because the line was for the children that did the SCA. Salute to who do the damn SCA, boy. Salute to the children who did the SCA. I wish I remember the names of those. Everybody, they looking like they now do SCA to me. But all them playing and we having a time on the SCA and how it went and we want to pass for, show his Fatima and all that and all, But then when it's time to go on the boatman who we now hail out because he park up and walk past all us and we talking and think we went on that boat before. He goes onto the boat, get his temperature gun and a little bottle of hand sanitizer. So temperature gun, we one by one when we come on the boat and get everybody a hand sanitizer. So you could see like so much of it is still being done because it's routine. That have nothing to do with the control of the spread of no virus. I guess we were doing the best with what we had at the time, but that is not going to work. Nobody on the boat had on no mask. I don't know why is nobody vaccination status. I don't care now. I never did care. But it seems as though enough people vaccinated. Now, here's somebody on Blaze and them show this morning saying the original or last year carnival when they had underground or hidden events, they had a big spike after, which people blamed the carnival events for. I remember as well that last year Easter, they had blamed how much people was in Tobago for another spike that happened 2 weeks after, and the medical professionals were saying, well, a lot of it have to do with Tobago, because I remember they attempted to open up a little more, I assume for the Tobago economy to bubble a little bit, where a lot of people go to Tobago for Easter. And this guy called the radio station this morning to say, well, how come now that is a legal carnival and it had events and it had the same set of mingling, it had no spike, and Rowley coming and saying we could open up given that it had no spike and all those kind of things, how that happened. And that had nothing to do with vaccinated people. And it makes me wonder, because this battle of vaccinated versus unvaccinated, I never understood why it was a thing. I am a dude where I whatever my doctor tell me I go do, that might be to my detriment at some point, but amen, so let it be. I'm out of here if that is the case, right? But until then, whatever my doctor tell me, do I roll in with that? But I found it to be such a simplistic question, such a simple explanation. Because more people in the country vaccinated, more people in the country got it already and survived, and many, many people got it and would have died, unfortunately. And people can continue to pass away. Rest in peace to their families, and rest in peace to them, and condolences to their families. You're finding that in a situation now where you have less people, or people who are more resilient to the virus, either because they get it before, they're healthy, they're vaccinated, or probably a combination of all those three things. So even if there's a spike, you're going to find that the level of symptoms that anybody getting, people may not even report it. People not ending up hospitalized because the situation was not individual life or death. I don't think it ever was. It was about the whole system collapsing. So now that less people ending up in hospitals, I think that we are at the point where we're going to live with the virus. And the thing about this is people have asked these questions like if we living in this country where we experiment with a lot of things up front and so on. Everything that we're going through now has been done in several countries throughout the world. So, boy, questions like those is defeat me all the time. But I'm glad to be in a place where it opening back up. I can't wait to live in a post-COVID society where that is just another thing is here people have. And they had the COVID. Everybody had it right. School. They had it again. Okay, good. And they settle everything was good. All the symptoms gone right, nice. So you come back out and that's the end of that. I can't wait to get in a situation like that. And I hope that, it's clear that as a society, right, we kind of throw away all the benefits of the remote work, the remote school, all them things because, boy, the people send something saying, you have to bring these children back to school. And if you keep them home, you educate them. So there's no more, at least in our school, it seems though, for Zachary's school, the San Fernando boys, it seems as though there's no option to educate him. Well, to have him log in from home. I say, well, if I provide what do they want? A camera, a mic, a laptop, what do they want? I could give up my stuff for him to go on just be able to stay home and do class. But that does seem to be an option. So we seem to have given up all those benefits that we see where we could have less traffic, less turmoil, less stress and all those things. And of course, still have the option. A hybrid, I think, would be the best situation where people who need or is more convenient or they feel like the child fares better in a formal face-to-face education system. They go back to it, and the people who feel that the child fare better home go back to that and work out ways that they could socialize and so on. But that don't seem to be the case. We throw that out completely. Government offices, everything had to come back in. It's right back to where we were before. To the point where we were starting to see last week the same amount of traffic as post-COVID. Like we forget about, as pre-COVID, we forget about traffic-free days where you can leave home anytime to go in town and think them days done. And I hope that we while we throw out that, I hope we don't throw out the idea of washing your hands. These is nice little things to do still, not because COVID done. You ain't gonna wash your hand again and you ain't care and you will sneeze on people and cough all you want and things. I hope that because they still have things like the flu and the common cold, which it shows how much we could avoid getting it if as a society we wash our hands a little more. The same thing the doctor used to tell you back in the day, cough into the wherever of your hand, your elbow, and do some of these things. I hope that those things sustain. But we'll see. As the place open up, we hope that everybody still do their best to remain safe. That and all seems to be a controversial statement. Do your best to remain safe as the place open up. I ain't think nothing wrong with that at all. And for the unvaccinated people, right, who go going around on social media like NCW saying they win and they hold the faith and they will not be moved. You know what I mean? We shall overcome. We shall overcome one day. I want to tell you all congratulations. All they win. All the people who hold the faith, all they win big. You know what I mean? Congratulations to you. Congratulations as well to Watson Duke of the PDP. Ole Watson Duke is my idol. Number one, I want to say Watson Duke get very good looking over the years. I don't know when Watson Duke, I remember when Watson was bald head and fat. You know what I mean? Like me. Watson was a man with a belly and a bald head. And he had a kind of look, you know what I mean? And then I remember the day, every time I talk about Watson, I'll remind you all of the day that Watson in a meeting for the PSA. I think before he was president or just after he became president, there was a fracas. And it broke out into a little bit of a fight, a little bit of, you know what I mean? A little bit of a rumble. And I remember Watson taking up a glass and telling that man, I want to embed this glass in your flesh. That's my best Tobago accent, right? Sorry. I want to embed this glass in your flesh. I thought it was well thought out, the statement, you know what I mean? It was bad. But, you could just say, you want to stab him or you want to think. The man said, I want to embed this glass in your flesh, you know what I mean? It shows how composed the man is under pressure. But now, Watson have a full head of hair, curls and all, salt and pepper in the hair, salt and pepper in the beard, the girl them sugar kind of style. You know what I mean? Nice little jewelry, a nice little look. You know what I mean? Watson looking the part. I see a video. A politician is a hell of a man. I see a video last week. I wish I could tell you the name of the artist, right? But I'm sure it's a Tobago. It's like a Tobago reggae singer. The man have good voice and everything. If I could find it, I'll play it. But I can't remember the name of the singer. But the man was on Watson. As a matter of fact, it was on Watson's Instagram page. I'll see if I find it while we're talking about this. But Watson stand up behind the man while the man singing his song. Apparently, he do a PDP song, right? And the man is clearly a good artist, eh? But Watson stand up behind the man while the man delivering his song with a time for change message. I seen it here. I'm going to play a little piece of it for you. Yeah, time for change. Sorry, as a soca artist, so I hope, Watson, a politician, a hell of a man, and all Watson put his time for change. Watson tag the man here and say, you know what I mean, who the person is, they get the artist a little length. But apparently time for change is the name of the thing. I agree. I with him, it's time for change. So good looking Watson Duke, new and improved Watson Duke. God, I'm reading from the Newsday here from Elizabeth Gonzalez. It says, following the 14-1 victory in the Tobago House of Assembly elections on December 6th, Progressive Democratic Patriots, that what BDP stand for? Progressive Democratic Patriots leader Watson Duke is gearing up to enter the Trinidad political arena. Wait now. It wasn't 15-0, it was 14-1. No, it's Mia Motley who went on nil. 14-1. Okay, all right, cool. 1 week before official launch of the PDP Trinidad Council, that's the name of it, PDP Trinidad Council, okay. Duke was seen on his Facebook live streams campaigning in Barataria, Samoa, and Curia with a handful of PDP supporters handing out jerseys and greeting people. Now, up to last week, Rowley had my vote, right? Because that Wademark impression was impeccable. And I was voting for Rowley. But now, my vote is firmly with Watson Duke and PDP. Because of the jersey. I find the PDP jersey is better than any UNC, any, how do they call the people again? PNM. They have the best jersey in the market. I tell you, I'm looking to vote for very frivolous things. I don't think I could vote based on policy because nobody in this country don't talk about policy. So I am looking for reasons to vote, and the Wademark was my reason last week. But PNM, sorry, I only lost my vote now because this PDP jersey, I don't know who designed this, but it's bad. So I'm voting for that. Whether I get a jersey or not, this is my vote. I find Watson better looking than the next two. So I'm voting for that. But he went on to say in an interview with Sunday Newsday on Friday that was a complicated sentence. In an interview with Sunday Newsday on Friday at the new office, Duke, along with his deputy political leader, counsel, Kizel Jackson, said the goal is to contest every election once the people say they are ready. He's confident of his chances in Trinidad because he believed the same way his 6-year-old party ended PNM's 20-year-old reign in Tobago. There are no safe seats for the PNM and UNC in Trinidad. What's new? You ever come to Trinidad before? This is your first time in Trinidad? Okay, no safe seats. All right. The PDP has a different form of doing people politics. And that changes everything. I don't know if it's my reading or this article, but I'll try that again. The PDP has a different form of doing people politics people politics. Okay, they're doing people politics and that changes everything. I agree. They really have a different, they seem to be able to appeal to the young undecided voter. I think the young voter in Trinidad and Tobago is by nature undecided or decided to stay out. So if you look at anybody under 45 who voted, I would love to see a survey of under 45 people who are eligible to vote between 18 and 45, and I would not be shocked if most of them are undecided, and a great percentage of those who are undecided are also uninterested. But he went on to say he has completely cancelled out the possibility of forming an alliance with other political entities unless the parties Watson, no, take off the clap, because I was glad to see this sentence. I tell myself, all right, so he not in any way, shape, or form prepared to align with any party. But then in the end, he said, unless the party's supporters call for such a move. And I guess by the parties, he mean he and whoever. And the problem in this country is that the whoever is always the UNC. Because the PNM, well, maybe I could take that back to the PNM has never, and does not seem to ever want to collaborate with no next party. A matter of fact, I feel like that's one of the reasons that they lost 14-1 in Tobago, because they refused to collaborate with Watson. Watson say, you take the president on DHA and all that, I want to be treasurer. PNM say, nah, talk's done. This is the end of it. Over the last 5 years, the former Public Service Association president seemed to have moved away from the usual combative style of politics and has adopted a more personable approach. Like his campaign in Tobago, his strategy will focus heavily on the man on the ground. Now, all reports coming out of Tobago, I salute my guy Milzo from Tobago. Mills was telling me very, very early that he think PDP have a good chance and they're probably going to win the election. And he said, one of the things that he said was, between Watson and Farley, they are genuinely men on the ground. So this my boy Marlon Mills, right? He was saying that, he say if you're keeping a little wake or you're keeping a little christening or a little birthday thing in the village in Tobago, you're going to be a palatuve and something happening, he say Farley Augustine is a man coming in the thing. Just to lime, just to hang out, no kind of political thing and handing out no jersey and no flyer or nothing like that. He's just somebody who is around. So that is something that is definitely missing from the political landscape of Trinidad and Tobago, I would say. Because in St. James, we had Marlene McDonald for a long time. She was not around St. James. I'm sure she was in Port of Spain South, but not the St. James part of Port of Spain South. She was in the action part. And now we have the great Keith Scotland, who they half killed the other day for saying, what you say, penny the ball. He had a rough time. The politicians tired and all you see Fitzgerald Hines drop asleep mid-speech the other day. These politicians tired, man. They need to let these men work less hours, you know what I mean? Work smart, not hard. But the reality is that all politicians here, one of the greatest criticisms we have in Trinidad is that we don't see our MP. It's a normal criticism in every constituency because, as I said, I've lived in safe seats like San Fernando East or West, whichever one is the safe one, by Faris and them. No? I've lived in... No, a matter of fact, where I was living in San Fernando might have been a marginal seat, come and think about it, but I've lived in Port of Spain. Chagonas, where I live in here now, is pretty much a safe seat. That nobody else in winning that. And I lived in St. Augustine before, that was marginal. So, every one of them, you would think is only in safe seats that people don't see the MP because, you know, I would think that if you're in a marginal seat, one of the best things you could probably do is try to make sure you're campaigning for the whole 5 years. So when the next time come up and them sending somebody new, because they don't ever send back the person who lost the last time, right? So if I beat or marginally beat somebody like in St. Joseph, they'll sing marginally beat whoever they send. I would think that I want to be real present in St. Joseph for the next 5 years so that when they send somebody else new, I could beat them a little more until I make that into a safe seat. But we don't do too much of that. We only come around when it's voting time. But if Watson and Farley's strategy is to do that, I feel they could pull some votes. Forget the undecided. Let me make a different category. I want to call that voter uninterested, right? So the PNM is the PNM. You can't change their mind. The UNC is UNC. You can't change their mind. The undecided is typically the person who have a little bit of education, a little bit of know-how and fed up with the political system and waiting for somebody to say something that is inspiring to them to decide on who they're going to vote on. But vote they will, and they may be undecided in public, but when they make the decision, nobody knows what they're going to do anyway. So it's who talk the best and who have the best policies and so on. So that is one group. But the uninterested is a very, very large group in this country. It could swing some safe seats. It could swing some marginal seats at least, right? So if Watson, you could be on the ground and inspire people who would not who not interested in voting, that person who is 18 to 25, not a part of the political process, they don't know ID card till that get digital, they don't want that. That might be a real good group for you to tap into. Now the issue is that Trinidad's small, right? But Tobago real small. So in this marketing class I was doing the other day, one of the discussions we had was about niche marketing. It's one of the things that we hear people talk about a lot in marketing, and is an overused and misused term, right? The idea behind niche marketing is this. Niche marketing is about, let's say Trinidad and Tobago is a whole country. What a niche really is a small sector of the country that you deliberately go out to market to. And what makes you successful in a niche is, number one, it is so small that the very big players may ignore it. They don't pay as much attention to it. So let me give you an idea of a niche market, right? Toyota is a real big company. Nissan is them as huge companies. Whereas a company like Lamborghini, let me say that they are a small company, right? Compared to a company like Mitsubishi. And what they do is they make a car for a niche market. A very small amount of people could afford Lamborghinis in this world. And you would have to pre-order that, and it's custom made, built to your specification when you order it and all that. And the reality is this. No matter how much it costs them to make a Lamborghini, right? Nissan could afford to make that, or Kia could make that. Kia is a multi-billion-dollar corporation. They could go and make that if they want. But one of the issues you have is that the market is so small that very, very big companies, when they go and invest and make this, and then find out, wait, what? I can only sell like 400 of these a year? Dude, I sell 500 of my cars every hour globally. So they don't want to get interested in it. So what they do is stay away from niche markets. So a niche market by design and by definition, it's small. The other unique thing about a niche market is that you, as the small player in a niche market, you end up knowing that market so well because it's a small group, it's intimate. You could get to know them one-to-one, whereas with the mass market, knowing them one-to-one is going to be very, very difficult, right? Because there's just so much people. But Lamborghini knows their market very well. So, for instance, they have details on... Let me use Shaq as an example, who had a custom-made Lamborghini and stuff. They know when he buy it, or 50 cents of a custom-made Lamborghini that you see all over the place. When they buy it, they know how old the car is, what they bought for the car, when I could send back a car for them to test drive. They know what they like, they know what's the measurement. So I have a template now that I could call Shaq and say, listen, I know you buy this Lamborghini last month, but we have a new one that we're working on now. We want you to be one of the first. What you think about it? It will cost you about $325, but you're going to be the first to get this car. So they end up with intimate knowledge about what drives their buyer, what person interested in, what kind of, you know what I mean? Everything about that person. And the mass person now, like the Nissan, don't have the time to get to know each one of the buyers like that. And it's too much buyers. And the buyers might not even be interested in that level of intimate knowledge or relationship with the company, right? So think of it like this. Think of P&M and UNC as mass marketers. They're trying to get everybody to vote for them. So they have a broad national campaign that they're going to spend tens of millions of dollars on. That broad national campaign for the P&M still looks a lot like a little more traditional, a little more radio ads, a little more TV, a set of posters all over the place and jersey given away and all them types of things. For the UNC, tens of millions of dollars again, but some more, they will do the same things that P&M did, but they seem to be a little more on the digital side of marketing. So them go call your phone and come along, talk to you direct, and they will send you messages on your phone, and then they can't watch nothing in YouTube in peace. Every time you watch them on YouTube, a little piece of yellow coming up. So you tend to find that is how they approach it. So consider Tobago as being a niche in the overall voting market of Trinidad and Tobago also. This student's a class again. Sorry, yeah, I have a class for the next 6 weeks. So if you find the podcast time to sound a lot like classes, because this is what I talk about all the time. So Tobago is kind of like a niche. They have a unique set of needs like Shaq and them when it comes to Lamborghini. There's a very small group. It's intimate knowledge. It's easy to access them either. It's easier to go from Tongue to Arima than it is to go from Tongue to Port of Spain. So all these factors, the PDP could, or whoever do a real good job in Tobago, knowing them intimately, understanding what their issues are, understanding what are their fears, what drives them, what motivates them, and so on. You could get a lot of success there. 14-1 is a good example of that success, right? The thing about it is this, right? What tends to happen to niche marketers when they get that kind of successes? So they might say from a strategic standpoint, they say, yeah, what? Let me go after the big market. We get some success, this intimacy and all this kind of thing work. And then when you come into the big market now, the big boys are going to kill you. That is how it goes. The Nissan and them waiting for you to come out and say, oh, you're coming over here. So it's one out of two things that's happening. When you come over in the market with the big boys say, here, what? We'll take it from here, right? We will buy you out. So look at, I was using 50 cents as an example just now. Here, this product called Vitamin Water, which we might remember. When he come out with Vitamin Water started to see some success on things. The big mass marketers in this world is a company called Coca-Cola. You might have heard of them. And a company called Pepsi. These guys are giants. Coca-Cola by far the global market leader in the selling of drinks, right? When them fellas and them Number one, they don't know who is vitamin water. You're not on their radar when you're selling. When you're in a niche and you're selling a small amount of products and things, you're not on their radar yet. But when you do decide to come in the mass market and just run a roll with the big boys, when you come up there, they are going to call you and they're going to say, listen, why are you doing this? Why are you making vitamin water 50 cents? You are already rich. Why are you trying to do this? Because we are going to behead you if you try to go any further. So what I'm going to do is offer you some money, right? Because maybe it's money I want. So come, I'll give you $1 billion. Let me give you this. Let me take it from here and I will go ahead and sell this thing, right? Which is what 50 Cent wisely did, because he sold to one of the bigger companies and they took it from there. Now there's a mass market product you can find at any point of sale anywhere in the world, right? So that's what Watson's saying. If all you ain't hearing what Watson's saying, that is exactly what he's saying. It's a long way to get to a short story. When he make a statement that says, I completely cancel out the possibility of forming an alliance with other political entities unless the party supporters call for such a move, what he is saying is that for the right price. Yeah, like Watson, you know, for the right price, you know what I mean? Because think of it, if Coke come and make it an offer, can you refuse? You know where it happens to in the social media world? Facebook and these people, they come and tell you, oh, I see you make this nice little thing called Snapchat. Oh, you have DJ Khaled. Oh, all right, okay, so here what, I'll give you $1 billion. Go home. Stop making this Snapchat thing. If you the problem is this, right? If you refuse that $1 billion like Snapchat did, and you decide that I am going to do this myself, and I am forthright, and we have had such success here in this niche, in this social media world, I'm going to build this into the biggest social media. You know what happens next? Instagram makes something called stories. And Facebook makes something called stories. And then Instagram make reels. Instagram reels is a direct response to TikTok. Instagram stories was a direct response to Snapchat. Instagram live was a direct response to something called, remember, Telescope? They died an unhealthy and brutal death. This world is not for the faint of heart, is what I'm saying. So one of the things that could happen is you get buyout. I think that is the more likely situation in this PDP scene. Or the other one is that you can get destroyed, because when you come out of that niche, I want to see you in the next 3 years when elections is get as intimate an understanding of Barataria, Sawan, Port of Spain, West, South, East, North, and wherever else, Diego Martin, Pinal, these places where people don't even know who going up, they could vote. You remember they say, put a crap in a Bali, they try to some place where they don't care who they put. I want to see you get an intimate knowledge of all these other 39 seats in the next 3 years in the way you did with Tobago. I don't know if you really feel you're going to win a general election in this country or not. Or if the intention, the intention as with many people who came before him, is to really come out and split the vote, more or less, and give yourself a better chance of making an alliance with a party. Even if it's 1 or 2 seats, you make some kind of alliance and then you get yourself in the corridors of power through the back door. You know what I mean? I'm talking about getting yourself in power. How could I forget to talk about my guy?
Trinidad and Tobago continues to bleed because of the void in proper leadership in this country.
Well,
the character trait of Keith Rowley is not what the nation needs, as his actions, which show virtual dictatorship, arrogance, and bullying, continues to divide the country.
Did he say bullying? Long time I didn't play some gunshots. Did he just say bullying? Let me just talk about this man, because I can't take this kind. I don't want this kind of smoke in it. But this is the same man who's being people comments and messaging people directly and allegedly. You know what I mean? People seeing police showing up by them after Facebook comments have been made allegedly. This is the same person who's bullying. But anyway, whether that be the case or not, it seems as though Guy Griffith, well, it not seems as though, right? He let it be known that what he's coming for is the prime ministerial position. Salute to Gary Griffith. We're looking forward to seeing you in the mix. We're looking forward to seeing you in the ring. You know what I mean? I'm not sure yet what it means. If it's is it that he joining in for the purpose of? Is he joining like another party, or he going back with the third force, or is it a COP revival? What's happening here? I'm trying to figure out Was his strategy? Or is he going into the PNM to fight Dr. Rowley for the leadership of the PNM so that he could become Prime Minister by default when he get the PNM to win? I'm not sure what is happening. And now that he had it's confirmed that he had prime ministerial ambitions, I wonder if he had just remained police commissioner, if he'd ever do this. Because I always felt like this is what you wanted to do, since Minister of National Security days. And that was some time ago, I guess somewhere between 2010 and 2015, it might have been. He always seemed like if popularity and that kind of thing, like politician style, more than just the job itself, it was, political mileage. And if you're looking for that, I would think that at some point you want to make a move for the prime ministerhood. So it's official now. He's going to be there. I'm eager to see what he does, because I don't think in either of the two mass market parties, he ketchup and mustard folks. I'm not sure that he could get leadership in either of them parties, right? The PNM, I don't think he will be leader of the PNM. I don't think he will make it to leader of the UNC. We can agree on that. That's safe to say. I don't think he will make it to the leader of any one of those. Maybe the only other party in power is the PDP. I'm not sure that he has what it takes to unseat Watson Duke as the leader of the PDP. PDP is an election. PDP. Well, they have election thing to say who in charge. But anyway, if there's an election, I don't think that what Gary could get there. So maybe it's to revive the COP. Was he part of the COP before, or was it just his wife? I can't remember. But I remember, the third force. No, there was some alliance. He might not be part of COP, but he was third force, and somebody was COP, and then it had TOP, and a whole bunch of people who had come together to form alliance. All right, cool. That's that. I guess that's what it was. So I am eager. After that Instagram post, now mind you, that's just something I forget to talk about a few weeks ago, because that post would have been made since the 24th of March. So now we a couple weeks on from that, and I haven't heard anything, nothing else posted on his Instagram. He's a man very, very vocal. So maybe as he would say, boots on the ground, and he's trying to make sure that he rally himself together, start to get his financing in order, and put himself out there as the political leader of the Gary Griffith Association. I know what you go call yourself. I could bet you could name me party after yourself to a man like yourself. So you can name People's Gary Griffith. Some kind of thing so coming. And whenever he launched that, I am pretty sure he too is going to get some support. Because when he makes announcements like, although boy, listen, if you can't use Instagram comments to gauge votes now, but when he come out and you go come out polished, he's a man know how to do his thing. You can say what you want about Gary, but Gary know how to present himself and do his thing and drum up support. And even if it's controversial, he gonna get some people behind him. So I'm eager to see what exactly that looks like when Gary Griffith come out into this. I just wanted to imagine the next elections. I gotta know where content is concerned for the next couple of years, because the next election could be Gary Griffith versus Keith Rowley versus Kamala Persad-Bissessar versus Watson Mervyn Augustus Duke. It's going to be a great election. We're definitely gonna get some song bites and some nice little things to talk about. Now, it's time to head regional and international. Right? Anything else happening in Trinidad this week? I don't think anything else happening, as much as it has some podcast episodes, right? I'll tell you this. Some episodes is make themselves, where you could just come here and easily go through a penguin song and you've done the whole episode. And it have some weeks like this where not much happening at all, and it's a struggle to come up with content. But listen, as we are on the topic of penguin, that is not the first penguin song I ever play on this podcast. That's Soft Man. Because I'm pretty sure I played this one before, and I will end with my favorite one too. But let me play one that I never played before, because I play Slipper before. What that Slipper doing under my bed? I'm pretty sure I play a Deputy Essential for some topic must have been going on. Let me play a few that I ain't play. I sure play Way Banker. Listen, Penguin is a genius. But this was the other song that he win the Monarch with. We go touch that and then come back to the regional stories, right? Yes.
like if we shot. We living in jail. We living in jail. While criminals out on bail, honest men catching their tail in their homemade jail. You can't walk the streets no more. You're afraid to open your door like we fighting war. We living in jail. We living in jail. Freedom gone clean out of we control. Watch the houses you have to build. Burglar proof iron doors and people. And a high concrete wall still. You know it's in a mess. You have to eat less. And it's not that the times are so hard, but you have to spend to feed about 10. Doberman that guard in your yard. We living in jail. We living in jail. Look, even the old and frail beg mercy to no avail. It's a sad, sad tale. Your TV and videotape they take, and before escape they looking to rape. We living in jail. We living in jail.
So I say Calypso Monarch 1984, living in jail and woman don't like soft man. Just as a little education, you know what I mean? Going along and we learn a little thing along the way too. Now, what is this? Local or regional news? I'm reading from the Express from Leah Sorayas. This Derek Chin talking, right? If you know Derek Chin, that is the head or chief executive officer of Dachin Group of Companies. Dachin Group of Companies, that think they own Movie Tongue. They used to own Ruby Tuesdays, which now turned to Jack's. They also own wherever the Asian place is next to Movie Tongue in Port of Spain there. I can't remember the name of the place. They own Telecom Security. I think it is. I hope it's Telecom Security. So you understand who we talking about when we say Derek Chin, right? And Dachin Groups of Companies or Dachin Groups of Companies. The article says, among those encouraging TNT business to seize opportunities in Guyana is Movietown owner Derek Chin, who was born in Guyana and raised in Trinidad. Keep that in mind, right? Our TNT economy is still kind of in a negative growth situation for the last 6 to 7 years. The country is at this time going through some hardships and challenges. The private sector has been looking for greener pastures or opportunities. And there's an opportunity 1 hour away from us, where Guyana is expected, with the great oil find, to really be an economic giant in a very short time. I don't think it's a very short time. I think they're already there because we have been seeing negative growth year on year for just about the time he's talking about. And Guyana is the only country in the region who is seeing positive growth. Everybody is showing negative growth in this region so far. And Guyana is year-on-year growth, and it will continue to be that way because what Trinidad was in 1970 in terms of the first oil boom, that is where Guyana is now. So he went on to say, in terms of other business, Guyana is really a breadbasket. They have a lot of land and a lot of opportunities. Many Trinidadians have already gone in there to take advantage of the incentive to build a hotel. As you know, Guyana doesn't have a lot of hotels. There are about 5 or 6 hotels being built, which I know 3 or 4 are being invested in by Trinidadians. I can't remember if we played this clip last week, because the Will Smith and thing was the throw off, but there was a clip by Bharat Jagdeo talking about the way Guyanese nationals have been treated in Trinidad and Tobago airport, and the general disdain that we have as Trinidadians have for Guyanese, which is true. And we like to make joke, but listen, we're going to need them, and you could only pray that your neighbors are as gracious or way more gracious to you. You see, when you ill-treat your neighbor and then they in charge and they on top, you could only pray that they're gracious to you, and I think we had to say some prayers here because I don't feel as though as individuals. Now, there was another article in the Express last week that came out about how much we have done for Guyana as well, which is fair, right, from the national standpoint, because under Kamla Prasad Bisaso UNC, somewhere around 2011 or 2012, we had written off the entire debt to Trinidad, which could have been, I want to say, in the hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't want to quote anything because I don't have it in front of me, but it was a lot, and they had written it off at the time. And from the standpoint of any disaster or anything, Trinidad has always been a place that will contribute. But I think a part of the issue is the xenophobia that we generally have as a society. We talk about cultural issues. I think that's one of our things culturally too, because we talk about Venezuelans like there's not real people when we in fact need them. And sometimes we do that with Guyanese people too. We act like if we ain't gonna need to. I used to say this in classes for years. We gonna need to go Guyana too. The tables will turn in our lifetime. You will see it. And the reality as well for Guyanese nationals now who might feel you're on top or things. Don't get too hot in either because the tables go turn back again. It's just the nature of life. But when we talk about a country and we print articles and our top business people, be it true as well that he's a Guyanese national. But you're being seen as a Trinidadian saying that Guyana is a breadbasket. Sometimes you can't talk about people like this, the way we say these kind of things. I mean, you gotta be a little more conscious of the words you say and how people, not at the government or the business level, but the average person will feel about a statement like that. Hey, Guyana is a breadbasket and all of we go in there and build a hotel. It's like we could also talk about this as a place that we like and enjoy and is a beautiful country and we intend to help develop the country and contribute to the well-being of the individuals in the country. We don't have to talk like if we just go in there to make money and bring back here. So we in negative growth. And the idea is go and get as much money as we could from Guyana because we can't make no more money here and then bring back all the money here so we can continue to live our luxurious lifestyles here and leave Guyana the way we find it. You know what I mean? But you want something to say there's a lot of work in infrastructure. There are highways, harbors, ports to be built, as well as electrical upgrades. So there's a lot of opportunities to get involved, whether by joint venture or whatever. When you say whether by joint venture or whatever, Guyana has been talking about a local content law or rule where anybody who is doing business in Guyana has to have a certain amount of Guyanese nationals involved in the business. So for obvious reasons, you can't just go there, make a business and take the money and go back. The people interested in seeing the country develop and seeing. I can tell you for me, Guyana is a beautiful place to me. It's one of the places I feel the most welcome. I ain't just saying this because they have money now, maybe. But this is somewhere I've enjoyed being. I've enjoyed going to Guyana and seeing how you could see the growth. It's different when it's in your own country and you're seeing your own country develop. Because a lot of time when your own country develop is an inconvenience. The price of progress is high. So when they're building up the government campus and they're building up the little, what is called by the foreshore there, by Breakfast Shed, the new Breakfast Shed and all that thing by Hyatt. That could be an inconvenience because the eyesore of construction is going on, the traffic it creates, all those things. But when you're going to a country 3-4 times a year and you could just show up and see how it's changing, it's a beautiful thing to see. And I like seeing that in Guyana. I remember when they opened Movie Town in Guyana maybe 5-6 years ago. When I first started going, it was up to 2010, 2011. They had already identified the site that they were going to have Movie Town and some of the developmental part. And there's a mall called Giftland Mall. It was in Georgetown. I think, from the little I know, it would have been the first really big indoor mall like that. And it used to be, it was packed to capacity. When you go in Giftland Mall on a Sunday evening, it was ridiculous how much people just used to be in that food court, just chilling out in the mall. Whole families coming out in the mall. And that's a good sign. That's a sign of commerce. Once you're there, you go buy some ice cream, some burgers and fries and chicken, all them things will sell. That's what you want to see in our economy. I am eager to see now, as they reopen our economy and all the food courts and the malls are open. We're going to find out what the reality of this negative growth is that Direction talking about. We're going to find out about it fast enough. Because the first day you go in Trinidad City Mall or Gulf City Mall, the ones that have the very big food courts, and you see how empty it is, we will start realizing what happened with this economy, And also, you will start to see now, you see KFC, about 2 blank space, then you see Subway. Only the biggest companies surviving this kind of hard times that coming out here, you know what I mean? So, he admitted the timing on the opening was a bit off, but it was beyond his control. After 6 years of construction, Chin's $50 million Movie Town complex opened its doors in Guyana in 2019. He admitted that the timing was a bit off, but it was beyond his control. He said this was not a very good year to open because that would have been during the election process and the whole issue of changing the government. Notice he didn't say COVID. No, he wouldn't be COVID yet, but he went straight into COVID after that. So at the time, everything was a little stagnant, and the level of uncertainty made it difficult for people to come and get involved in the mall in terms of tenancy and so on. He said then came the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, which put a further damper on business for another 2 years. He said, we're now trying to reconstruct and put all the pieces back together and deal with some issues with construction. He's had a lot of defects. And of course, the Guyana situation has obviously changed with the new windfall in oil. So I would think, is in perfect timing to benefit that this growth that is going to come down. As he said, not all of it has trickled down as yet, but there's a lot of optimism and potential local and foreign investors. So when I talk to classes, I have a class that goes on Guyana econ class. I think I tell all about this already. And what he described is exactly what I see in the classes there. There's a lot of optimism. People want, when I do econ now, with that is an MBA class in Guyana. When I do econ with them, it is part of a degree in oil and gas, an MBA in oil and gas. So they do the business subject, but they also do some things technical to decide on managing in the oil and gas sector, like HSE and all those things, right? So you're seeing everybody angling themselves to benefit from this windfall that is going to come, because as far as I understand, there's plenty more oil and gas than Trinidad ever had, and a higher quality oil and gas than we ever had as well. I hope I'm right about that, but it's going to change, and you're seeing everybody who used to work in our petrochemical industry now benefiting from being able to get jobs in Guyana, because the jobs slow down here. Like even going down the islands this weekend, when you drive down Chagaramas now, you're seeing them ships that used to be, I suppose, very, very active. You see them park up in Trinidad because our production low, and we have issues, right? We have issues with production, and the price of oil that used to benefit us, it ain't benefiting us no more. So it's a whole contrast between what's happening between Trinidad and Guyana. I would say as a person who, as an individual who trying to do the best I could do, I have my eye on Guyana to where business is concerned. And with the businesses that we have, if there's any business I could do in Guyana, I'm willing to bid. And I would say as well that there's already a lot of presence of Trinidadian businesses in Guyana, as with the rest of the Caribbean. So when you go there, you see all SMG Lil products, all associated brand products, all these companies very, very present in the Guyanese space. And but same for the services, people like Republic Bank and Massey and everybody is there. So I expect to see more people like Derek Chin getting involved in business. And as you know, we always talk more business here between me and you. Whatever businesses and things that we do, and it probably has a better chance for growth in Guyana than it has today. But again, we had to be sure that we could get the same kind of grace from people that we was not so good at giving out when it was our turn to be on top. So that's the situation in Guyana. That's something that I probably will keep as part of the running dialogue in Trinidad. On this podcast, because I think as our economy gets harder and Guyana economy sees more growth, we're going to start to look a lot more like Guyana than we think. There's going to be, what's going to come next is a lot of people going to start migrating to Guyana, because when you look at the price of house and land there, I remember one time going into a gated community there called Windsor Estates. Meet a Trinidadian Guyana. It's a gated community and it's an upstairs and downstairs house. On any given day in Port of Spain, because this was in Georgetown, or just outside Georgetown if I'm not mistaken. So let me call it Barataria area. If you buy a gated community, and then that's $1.52 million if you're talking 2-story house and thing. And I remember the price of that house and land being 50-something thousand or 60-something thousand US. Call that 400,000 TT for house and land. It have no way in Trinidad you get in that. Even from HGC, you might struggle to get that. And they're on a full lot, 5,000 square feet with a nice upstairs and downstairs house in a well-maintained and kept gated community. So I wish I had I wonder if I had 50 back then. I must have had no money. But it will continue to be that way, because you're hearing more things about land going for $10,000 and things. Is really attractive for somebody coming from here to invest in Guyana now. But my plea will always be, listen, if you invest nothing wrong with investing in different countries. Nothing wrong with leaving and going and work in the next country. Neither we do it in the States all the time. And if you could get betterment somewhere, I always encourage people to do it. But learning the society, understanding the culture is the least we could ask people to do as we continue to migrate over there. So on to more regional stuff, right? So with Guyana, you go hear a lot about that as we go along. Salute to Bravo for becoming the all-time leading wicket taker in the IPL. You see, always be a struggle when they're struggling for content. You have to talk about how much wickets a man taking IPL. Trinidad wrong, the former West Indies captain Dwayne Bravo made history on Tuesday when he became the leading wicket taker in the history of the IPL during the Chennai Super Kings match against Lucknow Super Giants in Brabant. So they say Bravo took 1 for 35 from his 4 overs. His 171st IPL wicket to move ahead of Latish Malinga. So salute to Bravo. Listen, no, Bravo went tranquil. I just played, you know, Fatima, but I went tranquil too, and Bravo wasn't tranquil. I just want to put that out there. But the next highest man is also a Trinidad Sunil Narayan with 144. Oh, the next highest West Indian on the list is also Trini Sunil Narayan, 144 wickets in 136 matches. You know, I guess he always getting reported. He would have missed. I believe he would have missed an IPL before because of being reported, or was it CPL? But Bravo is up there with the best of them, and of course retired from international cricket now, but definitely playing on the club scene. And I just saw them announce as well. Salute to Guyana and Georgetown again for having won the bid to host the next 3 finals for the CPL. And CPL is supposed to be coming up sometime soon. I want to go for one of them games now, because one of the best experiences I ever had was watching watching Guyana beat up Trinidad, I should say, in that stadium in Guyana. It's an interesting experience going there for cricket. I tell you, the boom that Guyana going through now is like Trinidad in the 70s. Well, I remember my mother taking me to cricket in the Oval that would have been the 80s. I was small, Zachary age and thing. And I remember it being just like that when I went to Guyana in the stadium there, where it wasn't no sort of buy food thing. It's everybody bring their food. And when people bring their food, people so open to sharing the food. It's like a whole family vibe in that stadium. Once people open, and worse they know is at Trini, because you know me. I went with some students or some friends who are making from classes in Guyana. And all of them in the Guyana what's in the Guyana name again? We not Red Steel. We's Red Force. Whatever Trinidad is, our team. And Guyana team, I think, is Amazon Warriors. And all of them in the Warriors jersey and the Guyana thing and the Guyana flag and all that, boy. I had the one red jersey. I'm in suitcase. I gone in my red jersey in the midst of all of them. I'm back in Trinidad. Die hard. I don't care. So they gave me talking when, making noise. Me alone making noise when we make runs. And when somebody out, all of them, they pointing at me loud. They say, But within all that, they offering me food. And I don't refuse food. They offer me food, again, drinks, everything coming my way. It was one of the most loving environments I was ever in, where everybody like one. Something I'd mad that event when I came back to Trinidad, to where I think was going around on social media, where some people were stamping on the Trinidad flag. I don't know if you all would remember that people were really upset about it. It was not a nice thing, right? And to be honest with you, I didn't see that as that was not the environment when I went there. To the point where when a guy dropped his big Guyanese flag and he see me walking towards it and he said, Trini, don't mash my flag. Don't mash my flag. That was my Guyanese accent there, if you didn't get it. I was like, nah, I wouldn't do that. You know what I mean? I wouldn't disrespect people like that. Also, I would choose my battles because it's like 100,000 all. Yeah, I mashed that flag there, I dead in that stadium. But yeah, the environment is a nice one. So I'm glad that they won the bid for the CPL. I eager for CPL. You know, we like little sports, as fellas. That's be our outlet. You see this point in time where Premier League just have about 4 or 5 more weeks, and then you have a long lull between kind of like end of May, June, all the way to August for sports to start back. Is at the present time. NFL done. But we have this year CPL to hold us over. Who is watch IPL? I think people is really watch IPL, but I can't get into IPL. I think it's too complicated, and I find like IPL is gone forever. But now that I know Bravo is the leading man and it's really a West Indian tournament, maybe I go take in a IPL game or 2. Not going to happen. But CPL definitely is one I'm interested in, and I might head over to Guyana for a few of them games. That stadium is be rampacking. Like the cricket over there. And if you ever get a chance to go Guyana to watch cricket, ask them to see the old Border ground. If you remember Border Sports Club, you'll be disappointed there because it's really run down. But it was nice to see what Border is, because Border was such an important part of West Indian cricket back in the day with man like Hooper and Viv Richards and Richie Richardson, the real heyday of West Indian cricket. And you're watching Border, and they used to talk about Border having a motor wrong. I remember you used to talk about that, and I didn't think it's a motor, I think it's a drain. But it was a nice experience just seeing Border. I believe it's Border Cricket Club, just like their Queensborough Cricket Club, but it's not well maintained and all that. I wish they would restore that to how it was, because a wooden structure and all that. The stadium now is very nice, but it would be great to see something like Border come back up. And since the days of Border, West Indian fans have been saying that West Indies have turned a corner. So I want to salute West Indies in all earnest to say that they have won a test series against England. I want to give respect where it's due. West Indies is now back in the winning ways, but afraid them bad because in West Indies here, you see when you win one, everybody just be eager to say like you're back and you know what I mean, West Indies back on top and all that. So salute to them. My last story I'm going to talk about here real quick is in the sports world. Another thing that I was talking about, or should have spoken about by Will Smith, and them slapped the taste out of that too. There's this situation with Leah Thomas, right? If you're not following this story, Leah is a transgender. When you're transgender, what gender is called? Is a transgender woman? Let me make sure I get this right, because I don't want to smoke and I don't want to problem somebody. She's a trans swimmer. And an article came up in Sports Illustrated where she was sharing her story. So go to Sports Illustrated and you could read this from her point of view. But the issue is that Leah is dominating the swimming scene in college. Salute to Leah. You're beating people where college concerned. The controversy comes where Leah started off swimming as a male, then transitioned into a female, and now competes for Pennsylvania University, University of Pennsylvania, I think it is, or Penn State, one of them Pennsylvania universities, for the woman. Let me repeat that, right? So she was a man, born, or you could say that, like you're born a man, and then transitioned into a woman, and now competes for the women's collegiate, on the women's collegiate circuit in swimming, and is dominating. Now, this is causing some issues, not just in the general swimming public, but also in our own team, because apparently the locker rooms things swinging, and you know what I mean, it's bats and balls and all kinds of things swinging in the thing, just like the crickets, you know what I mean. And it's gonna be nice, you know what I mean, changing the thing. But also the fact, you know, this is a debate. I don't have a whole lot to say about it. I just wanted to highlight it because a lot of people had brought it to my attention, and I promised I would talk about it, but I haven't read enough about it again to it yet. And I want to read this Sports Illustrated thing so I could hear her side of the story, and maybe we could talk about it next week. I just find that is a really contentious area because identity issues are real. I think you could be born a man and identify as a woman, and I think we all know people who born a man but they identify as a woman. This is not new, right? We've seen this before. My good partner Edmund had called me the other day when I talked about Dave Chappelle, the issue where transgender people are standing up against Dave Chappelle, and he raised a few good points to me in terms of the way I'd done that episode. Because I mean, it's clear I don't have anything against anybody for whatever decision they make in life, but he was saying, he was using the example of Mario Balotelli for me, right? So if you know sports, Balotelli is a Italian footballer, but of African descent. But he born in Italy or went to Italy when he was very small. So it's like a black African. He has the full look of a black man, very, very black. Well, when I say black, not skin color. I don't mean to say black like that, but not just skin color, but his build, his face, everything black about him. You could see he's a black man you're talking to. But he identifies as an Italian. So he has that same identity disconnect or identity, not as far as a crisis, but definitely a disconnect because you're walking around and everything about you, your culture, the food that you love, the music you like, the football that you play, the country that you love and ascribe to and so on is Italy, because that is all you know. But when you walk out in Rome, everybody sees you and treats you as a black man, which could be unfortunate. So I think identity issues are real, and this issue of being born a man and being... So one of the issues we have, or saying we collectively, those of us who don't understand it well and might be against it, or don't see the reason why we should adjust ourselves to anything that happened in your life. One of the issues we have is that we see in a man, I mean, when you watch Leo, right? When you watch Leo, the average person, you're seeing a dude who have some features like a woman, but the jaw, you know what I mean? Dave Chappelle is always talking about your jaw and things. But you're looking at just look for Leah Thomas and you understand what I'm saying. Caitlyn Jenner is a good example of it. You're effeminate in terms of the way you do your hair and the dress that you wear and the makeup and maybe even some boobs and so on, that in our typical construct looking like a woman. But when you watch them good, you could kind of see is a dude. So for us, a part of it is that we just like that Italian who looking at Mario Balotelli. You're looking at a black man, but you're telling you Italian. it's a disconnect. It could cause conflict or confusion in people's mind. The same disconnect we have. You're looking at a man and he's telling you he's a woman. And those things are already, because it's maybe not new to the world, but new in terms of how public it is. And we're starting to hear more of these people's stories. While, like on the barbershop last week, I was saying that back in the day, certain things was taboo and they remain taboo. Nobody used to talk about it and maybe even do it behind closed doors and come out like they don't like it. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? But in the world today, people finding their voices and coming out and talk about things, which I feel is positive. But in terms of competing in professional sports, I find this to be so tricky as a topic and as a story, because the reason that women and men have been separated historically in how they compete on the sport or on the playing field is because men typically have some physical advantages. So, for instance, if you're a boxer, is it that you're a trans woman, you're transgender, and you transition from being a woman to being a man? Would you want to go in the ring with a man like Leslie Tiger Stewart or Mike Tyson? I would hope not. I hope that is not the trend that come in, because that is going to be very, very dangerous for one party. And you could put how much a weight class you want and so on. They still have some things that naturally, and maybe there are ways of overcoming these things, because I mean, there are ways now people could do surgery and make changes and take medication and get a body to go through physical changes that would allow them to be even more like another gender than they were before. But I'm just fearful that if you're born a woman and you go in a ring with dangerous men or in the UFC, this could happen. This is not no Chris Rock you're going to slap now into. This could be problematic. And then when you look at sports, it's happened before in athletics. Now we're seeing it in swimming. And you know, I find personally is mostly the men who transition into women who seem to want to go and compete in the sport. And you can't help but think as a layman or as the average person or as a fellow not too smart like me, you can't help but think that a part of it is that you're not getting a lot of success in male swimming. And you know you could get a lot of success in female swimming. So you decide to use the fact that because I'm not questioning whether you identify as a woman, right? It's clear. But you're using this to your advantage, to say that I am a woman. This is what Leah's saying in the article. I am a woman, so I deserve the right to compete in sports with women. I think that would be... I'm not seeing how come this, like the woke generation, we're behind this and we don't want to address it fully, because this had to be addressed. Because let's assume now that a lot of transgender women decide to compete in a sport over the years, right? As they grow and they get a voice and they become accepted more in society, and people start understanding why we need to respect the rights of everybody. When they come into this, what's going to happen to women's sports? Women who born a woman or a woman and didn't transition, natural, I don't know what to call them. You know what I mean? Like a woman. What's going to happen to their sports? Or for instance, when you have somebody like Venus and Serena Williams, or even going back as far as people like Steffi Graf and Martina Navratilova, and people, Monica Seles, people who we had admired in sports over the years. For women's sports, not just for the sport itself, but for what they brought to women's sports. Is it that we'll reach a world where we don't have any more of that because men transitioned into women and they now dominate the sport, and then there's no women's sports because they can't win, they can't be the men and them in certain sports? Certainly it's going to be difficult. So if we're talking about diving, right, and them kind of things, and synchronized swimming and so on, I don't see that I don't see one gender having a huge advantage over the other. Maybe I just don't know enough for that sport, but when you're talking about T20 cricket or football or wrestling or swimming, I can see clearly where they're going to have an advantage. So I'm trying to understand this situation. I'm trying to understand where's the end game here. And is it that we eventually going to have women's sports, men's sports, and a trans woman's sports and a trans men's sports? And is it going to get that complicated in terms of what we're looking at and what we supported in sports? But I leave it there. I leave that thought open. You know what I mean? Because I can't get into all of it. I want to be fair to everybody involved, and I wanna read this full article from Sports Illustrated so I could understand Leah's perspective before I get into the study. But I'm going to go back to what I know well, which is Calypso. So as much as we have played the two songs from the Calypso Monarch, I want to also play the song where the Great Penguin would have won the Road March in 1982.
Sheriff have their deputy. President does have one too. Some in each big company. So we're wrong with me and you. We have to hustle, we have to struggle. So every man and woman deserve a helping hand. A deputy essential to keep you living vital. If boredom is a threat or you start to regret, a deputy is what you must get. No sweat. Some people might think me mad and call me all kind of brute. Plenty going to talk me bad. They just hate to face the truth. And who plain righteous, so sanctimonious, and watching me in court. I don't have one on the slide. A deputy essential to keep you living vital. Don't sit on home and fret. Don't think yourself to death. A deputy is what you must get. No sweat. Now you mustn't be too meek for some deputies so bold. Leave them in the post 1 week and they want to take control. So stick behind them, always remind them. Don't get positions crisscross. The sheriff is the boss, but
A deputy essential to keep you living vital.
if boredom is a threat or you start to regret,
A deputy is what you must get.
no sweat.
Couple things before we get out of here. Now, Jamaicans, everybody upset. It's a real regional episode, but Jamaicans are upset because apparently a band by the name of, what do people name again, boy? Soldier. For a song called Beauty and album called Beauty and Silence has won the Grammy, right? Now, the thing about this is the other people who were nominated is Spice. We know Spice, right? Spice had done a song. Well, that is albums, right? Spice Itano, Gramps Morgan, Sean Paul, and Jesse Royal. No. The thing about it is the discussion that we usually have is soca versus calypso down here, right? And there's also this discussion about dancehall versus reggae in Jamaica. And now add to that equation dancehall versus reggae versus trap dancehall, which is what these youths doing. So wap, 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 wap. That's trap dancehall apparently. You live and learn, right? But people, the older artists, like, well, when I say older artists now, it's Bounty Killer and Beanie Man and them. They're not for this idea of trap dancehall. They find it straying too far from the core of dancehall. And this sound familiar? Straying too far from the core dancehall. They can't mash up shows in the way the older artists used to mash up shows, or traditional artists, let me say it like that. But I see Skilly Bang and some performances in the UK, and the show was ram and he destroyed the show both times. But that same Wap Wap song, that song is terrible. It's offbeat. But if youth like it, that's what they like, right? The funny thing about it, and I don't want to play these songs because sure I'll get pulled down again for this song, but if you look at the Observer, Jamaica Observer Instagram page, right? So I'm going to mash up Pravat for sending me this on this thing, because when you listen to the clips they have of all the songs, the one that's singing closest to traditional reggae, which is, if you watch Bob Marley movie and they talk about the origin of reggae, any documentary on reggae, they will tell you about the strum on the offbeat. Which ching 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 ching. if that make any sense to you, right? You know what reggae is, right? The only one that's sung like traditional reggae is this band called Soja. So Jamaica is in an uproar right now because they have one non-Jamaican in a Grammy category, and that's the person to win the thing. Now, one of the issues I find, and it's the same thing with the Oscars and stuff, is I fully with Jada Pinkett on this Oscars so white thing, and we need to stay away from these people and their awards. But just for the sake of discussion, with where we usually have soca versus calypso, I think it's so important that when you have a genre that you work on so hard to create what is naturally yours in something like reggae and something like calypso, like the foundation of what we do. So I would agree that any dancehall I would call reggae as well, but we seem to always want to create a new genre. I don't know if it's just identity thing with youth trying to find a way and so on, but we did it here before. We had calypso, and then all of a sudden it's soca. Somewhere in the 90s it becomes soca specifically, different from calypso. And then somewhere in the 90s what happened was it's not a calypsonian anymore, it's a soca artist, and this one is a calypsonian because calypsonian old and them from long time, and them is calypsonian. And then it's raga soca, chutney soca, groovy soca, power soca, and now up to today we are new soca. And I just using this Jamaica situation as a parallel, where you have somebody who from abroad who doing just the basic fundamentals of what the genre was about initially and able to win a Grammy over people who we know Morgan Heritage and them, we know Gramps Morgan, we know these artists, Sean Paul, Spice, we know them and we know what they represent. For us as Trinis too, we love what they bring to the table, Itana and all of them. And I can tell you we don't love Soja because we never hear about them before they win the Grammy. But it's so important for us to not disconnect too far from the foundation of the genre, the music that we represent. So for that reason, I'm gonna leave you with this song too. And that's one of the reasons I like coming here and being able to play some calypso, because sometimes, I always underestimate. To me, everybody know these songs when I play them, right? So when somebody asked me about Penguin and who sang that and thing, I was a little surprised, but I don't remember too that, the first time you hear something is the first time you hear something. You can't knock youths for not knowing something, and if you hear it for the first time, you hear it for the first time. One of the things that I want us to always appreciate when we listen to these songs is, especially when you listen to Penguin and them, particularly from the 70s, 80s coming up, late 70s into up to today. Some of these songs that we call in vintage songs, when you play them, they sound so fresh. Like when you hear that Woman Don't Like Soft Man, and my little stupid verse over that song could go viral. It's because of the quality of the song. It's very little. Yes, the lyrics was pertinent to a situation that was already viral, but if the quality of the song wasn't good in the context of today, it would not go on viral. I'll give you some examples. Like when I hear like Zachary playing something on his phone and I hear, "Put your head on my shoulder, baby." There's an old Paul Anka song. So when I hear some of them songs, I know exactly where you know this from. Not realizing that a lot of those older songs, they use them on TikTok for all kind of different reasons, and then they end up going viral again. We saw it with Saucy, Put You Back in the Day, where this brand new to people and youths using it for whatever little memes or whatever you call them things, right? But it shows you like we have something precious when you could do something like that with Softman and goes viral. You have something precious. We own this. This is ours. This is who we are. So I take pride in being able to come here and take a little few selections, mostly of songs that I like, or it's either a song that I really like or it pertinent to the issue of the day, so I use it to discuss what we're discussing. But I want to go back to the person who opened this episode with, Lord Commander, who just was a unique kind of personality, a little bit like Skilly Bang, he used to be slightly off the beat, but very, very topical. And the way he delivers songs and stuff, and the vintage feel of the calypso is one way to take away from this. So for anybody in Jamaica with the reggae, if there's nobody who could do dancehall like Sean Paul or Itana or Spice or Shaggy or Gramps Morgan or anybody else who was nominated, and sometimes we just have to go back to the original thing we're doing, and I'm not saying that we can experiment, even us, with new soca. It looked like anything at Trinidadian sing nowadays just called new soca, because some of these songs clearly sounding like reggae and R&B and jazz to me, but they're just calling it soca. I don't understand it fully. But every now and again, when we go back to fundamentally and who we are, you're bound to get success. And as I open the episode with Blaxx, I want to say again, rest in peace to Blaxx, because he is somebody who found a way to go back quintessentially to what we do and who we are and what the genre should sound like and represent. Even though he do a lot of varying things, he never leave out a song like, if you're feeling like a bite up shilling. And he say in the beginning of that song, let me go back to the old time calypso. So I want to leave you with that old time calypso from a man by the name of Lord Commander. That is the man who sing the Too Much Publicity song with How's She Going? You're okay. I like that song too, but this is one that I like with him. Take him in.
Hey, I live in my own life to suit me. I ain't busy saying nobody.
Yes.
I live in my own life to suit me. I ain't busy saying nobody. If you do go, they got something to say. I want your body talk you the same way. Black and white, everybody does talk each other. I'll even go so far to include the commander. But that don't worry me, for anyway you got people who say things of you. No matter what you do, and whether good or bad, even if lie or it's true, they know your business better than you.
Yes.
And if you follow them, you surely go crazy and drown yourself in the sea. And that is why, you see, you're going to live me own life to suit me. Man, to hell with everybody. And when a man can get work, they say how he lazy. When you're working plenty, they calling you slavery. If you can't change your clothes, they say how you're nasty. When you're dressing plenty, they say you never see comfy. If you have a little raise, they say you're playing big papi. And then if you're poor, they just call you hungry.
Yes.
They will back up from the sovereign lady down to the dead people inside the cemetery. But that don't worry me, boy. Anyway, you got people who say things of you. No matter what you do, and whether good or bad, even if lie or it's true, they know your business better than you. You can't help me, man. And if you follow them, you surely go crazy and drown yourself in the sea. And that is why, you see, you're going to live me own life to suit me. Man, to hell with everybody. If a man beat your wife, they say how he wicked. And if your wife just beat him, they say she have him stupid. Worse when he speak to her, she doesn't answer him rude. And your little boy, they say eating bad food. If your son don't resemble you, they say not your child. Your madam could be an angel, they go say she wild. And when a woman can't breathe, they call she a mule. And when she making children, they just say she playing the fool. But that don't worry me, for anyway, you got people who say things of you. No matter what you do, and whether good or bad, even if lie or it's true, they know your business better than you. You can't help me, man. And if you follow them, you surely go crazy and drown yourself in the sea. And that is why, you see, you're going to live me own life to suit me. Man, to hell with everybody. When a man break one jail, they call you a vagabond. When you live in the sun, they say you're playing gentleman.
Yes.
If you like a church, they criticize a religion. When you like the courthouse, they say you are doing confusion. If you're young and very sickly, they say you're old and break down. And when you're old and moving quickly, they say you're playing young. You can't stop them from talking all how you try. They battle you before you born and after you die.
Yes.
But that don't worry me, for anyway, you got people who say things of you. No matter what you do, and whether good or bad, even if lie or it's true, they know your business better than you. You can't help me, man. And if you follow them, you surely go crazy and drown yourself in the sea. And that is why the commander going to live your life to suit thee. Man, to hell with everybody. So don't lie.
Lord Commander, they call him Mr. Action. I will talk to you all next week. Bye.